Thank you for tuning in to the Crown Chronicles podcast. Once again, my name is Ashley Nicole and I'm the host, where we talk about having the absolute audacity and gall to be your real, authentic, whole self. No matter what the circumstance is, no matter what the world tries to tell you, you've gone on that journey and you're coming back home to yourself to be who you have always been meant to be. This week, we're going to start what I assume is going to end up rolling into a few episodes, but it's the rise of the sacred feminine. And why is this important now? What does this actually mean? What does that mean on a personal level, on a societal level, on a global level, even on a universal galactic level? What does that mean? And what it does mean is that right now we are experiencing a global energetic crisis. The wounded masculine energy in the world is diabolical. This is why we're seeing the wars, we're seeing the attacks on women specifically. We're seeing the even deeper and what feels like even more violent suppression of the feminine. And this is normal. I did not say I agree with it. However, energetically, this is normal because when there is about to be a massive shift, the old paradigm and the old way of being, thinking, doing puts up that last fight. And so that's on a global scale. So let's go on a personal scale. Anytime you're going through a healing process or you're evolving of some sort, because healing doesn't stop. No one is ever fully healed. No one ever fully fucking arrives. However, when you're on your journey and you're making the decision, whether it's conscious or subconscious, or, you're doing the work for yourself, what ends up happening is an old thought pattern that knows it's on its way out the door, comes back, and it feels like it's with a vengeance. And what people do is this is when people turn back and they're like, well, maybe it's just not meant for me to be whatever new decision it was. And the reason why that happens is because you're kind of checking yourself and your higher self is coming in like, okay, are you sure you're ready? And so that's on a personal level. So let's give an example of it. Let's say I want to start having a business and working for myself. But your entire life, you've known working for someone else, clocking in, paying your taxes, like in the normal, like brick and mortar sort of hustling sort of way. And so you make the decision, I'm going to start my own business. So you get that initial dopamine hit and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this shit. And then all of a sudden you like have the ball rolling and then self-sabotage kind of creeps in. You regulate your nervous system, you come back down and it's cool. And then all of a sudden you're at the brink. You're like at that point of the genuine shift. And this is what people call that quantum leap. And then all of a sudden everything starts going fucking wrong or intense. And then you start thinking like, okay, well, actually, maybe I don't want to have my own business. Well, this is too fucking hard or whatever else it is. And the old option starts seeming like more safe. And it's almost in like a really weird sadistic-y sort of thing where the old, we call it the ego and it's the mind. And it's really just like a played out karmic cycle. Starts coming back and it's just like, you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? And it's like that fight before that break finally happens. So that's on a personal size. So what we're seeing on the global is one thing that I'm definitely seeing and I'm feeling is like the red pill podcasters. There is an energetic threat to the hyper wounded masculine because they sense that they're losing control, which is crazy. Because balanced masculine energy, balanced divine masculine energy is power. It's empowerment, but it's not control. Power is I have my autonomy and I know who the fuck I am and I know what I stand for and I am, whole within myself. But control comes in when people or spaces, places, world organizations feel the need that, well, I don't have control over my damn self and I don't have any of my own empowerment. Therefore, now let me assert myself over here. And so that's how you see it on the global level with the wounded masculine energy. Okay, now how does this play in? Bring it back in to the sacred feminine. How does that play into the sacred feminine energy that's rising right now? And it is, first of all, the rise of the sacred feminine energy. It's pure energy. You cannot have feminine without masculine. You cannot have masculine without feminine. They both need each other because that's the cohesiveness. That is the wholeness that this entire universe is made of. It's just the scales balancing. And so the sacred feminine energy coming back online is essentially to fix this deplorable wounded masculine energy that has been capitalized on. And I have my own thoughts. I genuinely feel like it came from religion, especially the Abrahamic religions, because in religion, everything is outsourced from you. You pray to something, you pray to a sky daddy that's outside of you. And that's your relationship with the divine. And that's what wounded masculine energy is. It is the giving away of your power to feed into a system of control. And so with that, when you bring the sacred feminine energy back onto it, sacred feminine energy is the remembrance of the divinity that you already are. It is the sacredness and the thriving of who you genuinely are. Does that mean you are like the end all be all God? Fuck no. Absolutely the hell not. However, in your universe, you are the co-creator. And so the balancing of the energies is the bringing the sacred feminine online and the remembering of her own autonomy. And I do say her. However, men are also going through this massive shift also. And they experience it a little bit differently. However, the energy is coming back online no matter what. With the energy coming back online, okay, Ashley, what the hell does that even mean? And sacred feminine energy coming online is its creation for self-expression and not consumption. It is experiencing pleasure and joy without performance. It is your wholeness that lives unapologetically as you balance both human and spiritual being experiences. It is the allowing of faith and the invisible to be not seen and not proven, but fully felt. So if you've ever been in a space of where, I just know something. Claircognizance is a very real example of the sacred feminine energy. I just know. I can't explain it. I don't have proof for it, but I just know. And it is the mysticism of the universe that's allowed to exist. And then it materialized with the balance of the sacred masculine energy to now become tangible truth. But it doesn't include like the monotony or like the pressure of having to prove. It's just a simple knowing and being of flow. Now, why the fuck is this happening? Well, I think when energy starts running a little too insane, the universe is like, look, we got to bring it back, like reel it back in. We need to settle this shit right now. And we see with certain wars that are happening, we see with the ultimate suppression of the feminine and the demonization of the feminine energy, shit just is not working. Shit is not working. And humans have not fully grasped what it means to like live in a very balanced way. And so to rebalance those scales, we need the complete opposite of what we've been running on. So this system isn't working, so let's just go ahead and bring in the other system and it's going to balance it out. And, as I've previously said, the sacred feminine energy is the leader. The sacred feminine is the leader. She is the creator. And the masculine's job is to flow with her and bring it into reality. And so she is the energetic creator. The masculine is the physical creator. And together that lives in balance. And right now what we have seen in the world is, well, the woman, the feminine energy can't prove creation. And so now, again, patriarchy teaches you, okay, well, I'm the creator and I'm the doer. And so you should be submissive to me. Feminine energy at no point in fucking time was meant to serve. It was never meant to serve. Serving was never something that there's just like the balance and the flow, and it's the ebbs and flows. But serving and submission was never, at no point, anyone's actual end goal or actual job. I should say their purpose. It was never that at all. It never was. And so when you walk into spaces and you hear the absolute demonization of women, now I'm talking specifically of women, saying they're too emotional and they're catty or they're dramatic or like to be feared. There's still some cultures that teach the woman that her menstruation is demonic. And that's absolutely insane. But the reason why this has come up is because when you don't understand something, you create fear around it. And that fear now, it feels like the sacred feminine energy is like, you know what? Fuck it. Fear me then. Fear me then. Because I exist and I deserve to exist in my fullness, in my wholeness. And it's not because I want to overtake you. It is simply for the fact that this is not working. It is, you know, a woke person or like the woke community, you're tired. Take a nap. And I don't mean necessarily like race and ethnicity. I'm talking about like with the polarities of masculine, feminine. The feminine is looking at the masculine like, are you done? Are you fucking done? Because you're tired. And you don't operate well when you're tired. You're doing all of this shit because you don't want me to stand in my power. And that's where the suppression came from. The feminine energy, fully embodied feminine energy, it is creation. It is the flow of everything. It doesn't have to be militant power structure all the time. It's not like that at all. It's the fun, it's the joy, and like I said, it's the pleasure. It's the tantric way of life. It is the tantric way of life, but you cannot have tantra without masculine, feminine. You need the light and the dark. And I'm not saying either one's light and dark. I'm saying it's just the polar opposites. The opposites have got to exist together. And that's where cohesion and joy and the full-on experience of this lifetime exists. So now, okay, let's just turn into a nerd real quick. What does this mean in the world? Like, how do we see the suppression of the feminine outside of what the US has been doing to women's bodies? Which is overturning Roe v. Wade, saying that, you know, there's some people that are in the government, we'll say, believe that, oh, it's God's will if a woman is raped and she ends up pregnant. Why have we normalized that? We have normalized the violence of a woman being hurt and violated and her being taken. And of course, when, you know, we're talking about sexual assault, it's attacking the womb at every point, because that's one where trauma is stored, is in the hips. And then two, it directly goes to the womb because the womb has her own nervous system. And so the normalization of the violence against women, which is absolutely disgusting in the world, it's become normalized because it once again reinforces the patriarchal, well, I have power over this and you are at my service. No, that's not what it is. So that's one example. And that's a very extreme, very on a person to person example of it. But other ways that you see the suppression of the feminine is, let's have a history lesson. The number 13. Friday the 13th. Why is everyone afraid of that? Because that was the day of the goddess. It was the day of the goddess. The number 13 celebrates, and it absolutely shines so much light on the 13 moon phases in the calendar year. 13 menstrual cycles for a woman that is regulated and, you know, whatever, typical. The number 13, that is the celebration of the goddess. 666 is another number. Six is the number of the sacred feminine, just point blank period. But it's also the initial number of union. And so then going even a step further from that, you have the number 69. Anytime someone sees the number 69, they're always like, oh, it's hypersexual. And that's not it. 69 is actually the number of masculine and feminine meeting and working together, forming that infinity. It is literally an oval with infinity in the middle of it. And it's never ending. It's ongoing. It is eternal longevity. That's what the number 69 genuinely is. So these are just small ways that we see the suppression of the feminine, which is crazy. Another one in the animal kingdom, I do study shamanism, is in the animal kingdom, the fear around snakes. The snake is the sacred feminine. She is the symbol of the sacred feminine. She is the grounded, but she's also the flow. She's also the, yeah, don't fuck with me. So like that whole assumption of like women are submissive and they're docile and they listen and, you know, they're too emotional. No, the sacred feminine is the epitome of a warrior. Oshun carries a knife in her, is it a satchel? She wears it around her waist. You have Kali Ma. She is the goddess of destruction and the divine nurturer. You have Hecate. You have Lilith. There are so many women, especially in lore, that are either taught to be feared and to be scared of it, or they're the ones that are lying naked and all they're doing is, you know, their pleasure is for consumption. And so this is what I mean. In little minuscule, minute ways, you see the suppression of the feminine and people have normalized it. And it's unfortunate. Because again, I never, and I will never, speak from a place of like, I hate men or women are better than men or anything like that. I speak from my truth, which is wholeness. And it is the recognition that men need women, women need men, feminine energy needs masculine energy needs feminine energy, and acknowledging the fact that feminines lead, feminine energy does lead, and it always will. It's just the law of the universe. And so what we're seeing right now on a global scale is the beautiful, I say beautiful, maybe I mean that on an energy level because I can sense that the shift is happening, but the panic of the archaic understanding of patriarchy. And it is the governance into control instead of flow and letting people be who the fuck they are. What do you mean in religion if I don't believe in this God or if I don't behave a certain way, I'm punished or I go to hell? Or, you know, bad things will happen to me or, you know, it's either reward and punishment. No, that's not true. I'm not going to believe what you believe. Or, you know, someone else, there's 8 billion people on this goddamn planet. What do you mean we all have to believe the exact same thing? No, that's crazy. And that's why the need for the sacred feminine to come back and regulate what is running like haywire by like 1,000 is to remind people you don't need to be afraid of who the fuck you are. Are you living in your soul essence? Are you embodying your soul frequency? Are you living your truth without all of the titles and the expectations and the identities that the world has given you? Have you remembered your soul and are you living from your truth? That is the sacred feminine being online. And that's why we see such the massive upheaval. Because what do you mean? People are encouraged to be themselves and they're different? Yes. People are experiences within themselves. We are all 8 billion different experiences on this one planet that still have connections, and we're all connected to divine universal source. And so when the sacred feminine comes online, which is absolutely dire, it's the encouragement of the people, every individual, to come home to themselves. And that's why it's so very, very needed right now, because people are losing themselves in I want to either fit in, or if I don't fit, I'm persecuted. If I don't follow these rules, then, now I'm terrified of what happens in either the afterlife or the next life or whatever you believe in. And that's insane. That is absolutely insane. And so now, to balance once again those scales, I'm feeling there's so much Libra energy coming through as I'm speaking. And so I'm curious how this is going to manifest for people that listen. But it's the balancing of the scales, not to tip them. It is the balancing and bringing everybody back to zero and letting all of ourselves thrive as we genuinely are. I can't wait. I am so thrilled to keep talking about this. This was just the intro to it. And I would love some feedback if anyone has any, as far as like, what do you want to hear next as far as the energies and the polarities coming into balance? We will be talking about the history of it. We will be talking about, what does it feel like on a personal level? Like, how do women experience the balancing of the scales? How are men experiencing the balance of the scales? All I can ask of you right now is just be open to new experiences and your soul really leading the way.